What's up, guys? It's me, Key, back with another video, man. So somebody actually commented and told me I need to watch this video in particular, right? So what I'm about to do is I'm about to watch it, you know what I'm saying? And y'all go join me here. This video is like 17.5 minutes long. It is titled, "This Anti-Shooter Game is Beautiful and Horrifying." Let's get right to it, man. Let's get right to it. Let's not waste no time. I was gonna watch this on stream, but I'm like, you know what I'm saying? It's been too long. I gotta get this out for my boy. You feel me? I can't wait till another stream. I gotta get it now. So let's see what this is talking about.
Europa, Eurasia, Euruska. Roving battalions of mechanized military factions engage each other in an eternal conflict whose meaning has been lost to time. The politicians who started the war are dead. AI algorithms direct fire teams like board game pieces. Towering mobile gun platforms become deities for the communities of soldiers at their feet, embedded in trench lines for generations. Megacities are razed and then rebuilt overnight by 3D printers, the original shape and meaning of structures and monuments becoming warped, skewed by the hellfire around them. The line between weapon and man has been blurred. War itself is a symbiotic organism of flesh, steel, and gunpowder. You are in the middle of it all, and you're not on either side. The elevator pitch for this game is basically that. You're not this guy, you're this guy. And to be honest, while the idea of being a small scavenger in the middle of a big war is cool, it only slightly piqued my interest when these developers first contacted me. It wasn't until I sat down with them and really got to understand who these people specifically were, what it is that they were building and why, that my mind began to be blown. A game born from the ashes of once great AAA studio systems, a game which is as much an allegory for modern war and conflict as it is to the changing face of art and game development itself. This is The Forever Winter.
The Forever Winter. When is this dropping, man?
Through my short foray into content creation, several studios have approached me about covering their games, and very few have actually sparked my interest. The same can actually be said for my first contact with Fundog Studios. What the hell? I responded to the email anyway, mostly out of curiosity, rather than the usual interest in a brand integration or a, hey, please check out our game. Fundog simply said that their CEO wanted to chat with me, to consult. It's a somewhat odd request, so I followed up. Sitting down for that conversation might be one of the most important decisions that I've made in my short career in this space. The first interaction that I had with CEO Miles Williams proved why this studio was different. I noticed some visual similarities between the Forever Winter's initial trailer and a stop-motion film by the name of Mad God, directed by Phil Tippett, animation genius behind Star Wars and some other classics. It's a verifiable hellscape, grotesque, oozing texture, and for the most part, people outside niche film and animation circles have never heard of it. Initially chatting with Miles about the game's visual style, I had forgotten this film's name. I was saying how the game had a bit of this and that. It reminds me of this animated movie. I forget the director, I said. Miles cuts in, "Oh yeah, dude, Phil Tippett, Mad God." I was legitimately taken aback. It felt like Miles had read my mind, but this has been what every conversation with the members of the Fundog Studios team has been like for me. A team that is so wired into a specific artistic subculture, so locked into an aesthetic quality of 90s anime, heavy metal model kit aesthetics that happens to be exactly my taste and sense of style. A sense of style that you don't really see very often anymore. This little anecdote is perfectly emblematic of the exact reason why this studio exists, why this game is being made at all.
I feel like this game will do great, bro.
Matters.
I don't know why I feel like that. I honestly feel like this game just gonna do amazingly.
You ever have one of those weeks where every day feels like a Monday?
To understand this team, you need to understand an impossibility in games development over the last 20 or so years. This studio is made up of artists, designers, and creatives who've worked in the AAA industry for decades, who've seen what it does to art. You ever notice how the concept art for characters in a game looks so much better than the final version? Or perhaps the best designs are just cut away entirely? You ever see a case where an artist or designer's original work was blatantly plagiarized by a larger company? The aversion to taking risks and bringing new ideas to the table, the necessity at following trend and approachability. The point isn't to say that AAA games are all bad, or that the devs working within that system aren't capable of crafting fantastic works of art. Quite the opposite. But in order for artists to carry their ideas, themes, and goals through that system intact, the stars need to align. With tools like Unreal Engine 5 and the possibility of remote work, a window for talented people to carve their own niche without relying on the support of AAA, but also without its bureaucracy and restraint. For these industry vets,
So
It was
that just
now
kinda
or
blew my
never.
mind seeing that.
That frustration, however, it's not just the origins of this studio.
Look at the
It's also
world,
woven
bro.
into the very world and
Colors,
tone
everything.
of the game
It
itself.
just looks amazing, bro.
The game is about scavenging, but mostly it's about being the little guy.
Ooh!
Surrounded by giants all fighting their own war that'll stomp you out, cut you down as easily as it'll pass you by, unaware of your existence.
Bro, they have a
if you're lucky enough.
chainsaw
You
on
make
it.
your way in
You
between
see
the
that?
flames, picking up what scraps you can and using them to build yourself up bit by bit.
Wow.
Get too strong though, step out of your league, and there will always be a bigger fish ready to remind you of how small you are.
Yup.
I don't think that I could make this analogy any heavier-handed. Rayo Lyra, one of the lead concept artists and lore masters of the Forever Winters universe, told me that to him at least, the devs are the scavengers. They pick up what scraps they can from the industry, tools that would otherwise bring their demise, and if they're fortunate and driven enough, they'll be able to use what they can to craft something that is true to their ideals, that helps them through this war. These ideas and themes of the Forever Winter actually
at this
date almost a
concept art,
decade
though.
back, in times
Look how
before
good
generative
this
AI or
looks.
industry-wide layoffs,
This
and
looks
it all feels
amazing.
chillingly prophetic now.
Praying with the Glock on the table is wild. With the strap on the table. That's how.
Equally
That's kind of show
prophetic,
how serious
however,
it
are
is,
the
too.
larger themes the world of the Forever Winter deals with. In our first meeting, Miles pulled up his little lore and concept art file, and an image popped up. So yeah, some of this stuff is a little not safe for work, he says, almost embarrassed, as I'm greeted with a main battle tank covered in a neat layer of stripped and bound corpses. It's not clear if they're here for intimidation, for ballistic protection, or for field rations, or a grotesque combination of the three. Yeah, that's the vibe that this game has. Forever Winter is about war, but in a way that is far more nuanced than the average first or third person shooter.
never
Miles gave me the
changes.
analogy that if Gears of War was a real scenario, if you were actually there, it wouldn't be an action-adventure game. It'd be horror.
Yup.
I call this game an anti-shooter because of its
out to
mechanics,
Gears
which I
of
will come
War.
back to later, but also because of its
Hey, if you
themes
play
and
Gears of
design.
War, let
It's
me know in the,
invariably
in the
anti-war
comments down
media,
below. Hey,
investigating
man,
the logical
Gears of War,
progression
that's
of
my favorite game
mechanized
of all time.
armed conflict. A future where war has become religion, where a gun becomes a monument, where machines of war are icons to be prayed to. Forever Winter says, yeah, keep it up, world, this is where we're going. This game is set on a future Earth. In early iterations of the game, Fundog were much more literal with their imagery, hitting very close to home with their references to real conflict, in order to touch on increasingly dark subject matter while also telling their own story, which felt both respectful and allowed creative freedom. Concept artists such as Rayo Lyra felt that stylization was the key direction to take. In the same way that a fable tells a universal story through simplistic and approachable presentation, the Forever Winter's visual style makes clear references to recognizable imagery, warped through a neo-mythology of the game's setting and conflict, similarly to how 2003's The Second Renaissance repeatedly uses striking, grounded imagery to tell a science fiction story that has very real implications. Buildings and statues warping like data-moshed visual artifacts after years of 3D printing bots having forgotten their original shape. Prayers and dedications etched onto the body armor of mech units, graveyards forming canyons and valleys as thousands of bodies, weapons, and refuse pile around the trenches. Flamethrower units wear spacesuits, relics of a lost civilization, once beacons of hope for a future in the stars, now simply coveted for the flame-retardant properties of their material. One of the things that draws me into Forever Winter's world is that despite being a game about scavs wearing gigantic
That old
backpacks,
dude that was
dodging
just on the right
cyborgs
kinda
dropped
clean,
from
I ain't
stealth
gonna lie.
bombers, the story, tone, and world feels creepily
He's like the one that's gonna talk your
unsettlingly
ear
real.
off.
The
and he
analogies
gonna be
about
talk- like,
humanity
kinda talking
being
a little
wired for
crazy, kinda
adoration
a
of
little rude,
idols,
but it's just
about
like
how
he just like, he
algorithms and
really
artificial
actually care about you
intelligences are
type.
becoming figures of worship, defining one's worldview, who they hate, fight, or love. It's all incredibly serious subject matter, told through the lens of a cool mech game. So why place so much attention on the lore, meta-references, and philosophy rather than just breaking down the game's mechanics? Honestly, because it's so interesting to me that it'll receive its entire own video, breaking down my own gameplay, my experiences, and the details of the complex AI systems the game brings forward. But more importantly, because this level of world building with subject
Bro, I wanna
matter,
play
imagery,
this,
and
bro.
philosophy flowing straight out of the
When a beta-
minds of
when
the
a beta's
artists,
dropping?
this is the level of soul and depth that I've been seeking
Look at
in
how
my
this
little
looks,
niche
though.
of interest
Like,
for so
just the
many years,
scenery
and it
be
feels
so
like a moment in
interesting
art
to me,
and
man.
gaming that hasn't happened in a long, long time.
Okay.
That depth behind the art is exactly the aspect of gaming that I always loved the most when I was younger. Why I used to browse concept art forums and spend
Halo,
hours reading the
Halo
transcripts
Reach.
of NPC dialogue. This isn't all to say, however,
Is
that the
Gmod?
Forever Winter's lore
I
masks a
recognize
simple,
him from
dumb
Gmod, but I
co-op
don't know if they
shooter.
originated
The world
from
and tone
something
of the game was developed right alongside the gameplay,
Half-Life,
a
maybe?
style of gameplay that I've always wanted, but never really seen attempted.
Yeah, Half-Life, right? Never played Half-Life. And I played G-Bot like 3 times.
One of the core ideas beyond that you are not this guy, you are this guy, is a concept that Miles likes to call combat voyeurism. Essentially, it's what it sounds like. You're not the center of these battles, you're always on the periphery. As you move around the battlefield, certain silhouettes will pop up, and as you play, you'll gather more understanding of what they mean. There's 2 MBTs, there's a Eurasian strike team backing up an EXO, there's a group of European EODians, cyborgs, there's a duo of Euruscan Olgas, there's drones coming from behind me, and UAVs in front of me, and oh Jesus Christ, what is that? Anticipating how units will move, track, and engage each other, and how you can scoop up the scraps of the battle stealthily, that's the core of what this game is about, and it leads to some really interesting moments. The movement, looting, and shooting is super simple. The loop is entirely based around emergence, player choice, and tactics, a smash between roguelike, RTS, and third-person shooter stealth gameplay.
Yeah, you really
The
can't
world
afford to fight a
exists
whole
despite
army, man.
you
You really
rather
gotta.
than for you, and how
I like
you
that. I
navigate
like
it
this
will
approach.
change with every mission, every combination of scenarios that the game rolls for you. More specific ground-level mechanics like threat rating, aggro pacing, weight class, the pathing, and AI director. You won't understand any of what I just said, but you will soon again in the next video. But suffice it to say this, the Forever Winter is basically a large-scale battle simulator where you're stuck right on the ground in the middle of it. The world will react to you, but these armies are here to mess each other up first, and you're also there. One of the key original inspirations for the game, besides the animatrix,
I like the concept and the approach of this of you not the main people fighting, bro. So since you're not the main people fighting, you can't just be trying to fight. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be trying to jump in stuff. You feel me? You're gonna die. You're gonna die. There's 2 armies. Imagine you start shooting and then both armies start shooting at you. It's over with. You're dead. So you really gotta wait and like let them fight and choose your battles. You know what I'm saying? So when you out in the open, you can't jump into that. And you gotta just kind of like, let me get that up off you, bro. Let me get that up off you, bro. Appreciate that, gang. You can't just be out. I like that. You really gotta play it smart and stuff like that. So that's cool. You might be able to like do some fighting and stuff when it's you know, when you like in alleyways and stuff like that. Get you your little picks off. And you know what I'm saying? Give me that.
And 90s mecha anime, of course, was the opening to Terminator 2, the massive mechanized war where humans skitter around like rats in a maze below ground, massively outmatched by the horrors above them, taking whatever tiny chances they can to strike back. The other analogy of the gameplay loop, the one that I actually find the most accurate, is the legendary long take near the end of Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men. Rebels and UK military clash in a slum, and the hero has to get to an objective while dodging the bullets and avoiding either side, viewing him as the target. This isn't to say that you can't fight in this game. You can, and you're gonna have to. But the armies as a whole won't perceive you as a legitimate threat unless you give them a reason to. As for how that's decided, it isn't straightforward. And again, you're gonna get sick of hearing me say this. Just subscribe and wait for that full breakdown.
110 health bar.
That's a lot of conceptual high-level discussion that I just threw at you, but I've actually played this game for like a month or so now, so what is it really like? Back at the beginning, I mentioned how Fundog contacted me with the interest that I consult for them. I'm not gonna lie, at first I didn't really understand what this meant or why FDS would care about my opinion. But with thousands of hours not only playing extraction and tactical shooters, but analyzing them from a game design perspective, I'm able to provide input on the game's feel, how it plays from a gamer's or consumer's perspective, while articulating my reactions in ways that are intelligent enough that they can actually help the dev team build a better game. I've been playing the game and giving lists of feedback on and off over the last couple months.
Okay. You see that one right there?
Should I shoot him?
Dude, let's see, man. Yeah.
Oh. First off, there are many gameplay elements of the Forever Winter that are super unfinished, and to be honest, I've never played a game in such a mid-development state. The game is, of course, gorgeous. The interesting result of a team of concept artists having direct creative control over a game is AAA quality visual design, right alongside utterly work-in-progress core systems. Despite some extreme jank in the controls and movement, the emergence created by the AI systems is completely evident. Without giving too much detail away, I was immediately struck by how much the world seemed to not revolve around the player, in a way that goes against everything that shooters have always taught me to expect. A ground unit will charge straight at me and I'll take cover expecting the worst. They'll open up with a barrage of fire only for me to turn and realize that they were targeting another unit behind me that I hadn't noticed the whole time. I'll take out a lingering sniper team on the edge of a battle, and a fire team will come and investigate the sound, but I then simply move around the corner, and there's zero way that the investigators will instantly know where I was or even how the snipers died, unless there was a UAV overhead that was scouting my position. One of the most memorable moments was when I first played. A T-90 was blocking our path to extract, and I couldn't see any way around it. Just gotta wait for him to be distracted and we book it, Miles says to me. A group of heavily armed troops appears from our left and I think we're done for, but then they start opening fire and the MBT's machine gun lights up as something that we can't see engages the tank from afar. We crouch just feet behind the T-90 and its supporting fire team and slink away into the fog with the firefight continuing behind us. At every point in that encounter, I was expecting the tanks and AI to simply magically notice us when we got close enough, as every third-person action game has taught me to expect. But that's where this game is different. In between the jankiness of getting stuck on collisions, frames dropping, enemies glitching out and flying into the air, these emergent moments happen literally all the time when I'm playing, and there are too many examples to list in this video without spoiling mechanics. But suffice it to say that when the game's working as intended, it feels like that Children of Men scene all the way through. I'm not being paid by Fundog Studios for this playtesting and feedback, nor am I being contracted to continue helping them with development in any way. Which maybe means that I'm being robbed financially, but what I hope it actually means is that you, the viewer and gaming fan, can actually trust my opinion when I talk about this game. Part of the reason that they've allowed me access to their main development build is of course for giving feedback, but because they're proud enough of the systems that they're building that they're confident.
You know what I'm saying? If they ain't paying you, they can't be mad about what you say either. You feel me? So you can really, you know what I'm saying? They ain't paying you. How can they get mad at what you say? You feel me? Even if they was paying you, you should still be like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I don't want y'all money if I can't speak my mind.
Letting me check them out, however unfinished some aspects may be.
There go buddy from the trailer. There go buddy from the trailer. I'm coming with that mean one.
Miles always compares me to a combat journalist for the Forever Winter, the Evan Wright to the first Recon Marines in Generation Kill. But to be honest, I'm no journalist, and I think I'm actually quite a bit more opinionated than Wright ever was. I used to want to be a concept artist myself. Seeing the industry going in a direction I wasn't fond of killed a lot of that passion for me. And corresponding with a team of people made up of some of the literal artists whose work inspired me when I was younger, that's been a pretty fascinating and honestly emotional experience, and it's totally revitalized my hope for the future of games. The Fundog creative team's ultimate goal is to craft a world that is so specifically uniquely itself that no amount of future intervention could ever be able to kill the original vision. Artists, designers, and creatives in large industries always pour their heart and soul into a project, and more often than we realize, their creations are yanked away from them to appease a larger system, and they fail. When the driving goal for development becomes risk mitigation, the soul of the project dies. A lack of outside funding and support that AAA provides might mean a less universally recognized product, one which may not tick all the boxes in the way that a big game can. But it'll also mean that the idea being worked towards is true in a way that approachable mass media rarely gets the chance to be. Fundog attempts to set an example for indie dev studios that making something original and different might be less popular, it might be less polished, but by taking bigger risks, by being more specific, by having more heart, it has the potential to hit deeper for those core fans than a game made for everyone ever could. Miles originally told me that the game was for the homies. And while I realize that he said this meaning his artist friends, industry colleagues, and co-workers over the last decades, I feel like, fortuitously, I also sort of fall into this category. The Forever Winter is a game of passion, a game that would never get made in the AAA system. And these devs now get to take risks that they've never been allowed to take. They're not 100% certain that everything will work, and that's actually the beauty of it.
He has 8 bullets in his pistol, y'all.
Ryle Lyra told me, if we're gonna fail, at least we'll fail together. But in many ways, in creating a living, playable art book and crafting a world that is unique and steadfast in its tone and message, they've already succeeded. With all the chaos and uncertainty of today, seeing a piece of art like this come to fruition gives me confidence that gaming might have a brighter future than the world the Forever Winter foresees. I guess I'm just happy to come along for that ride. I'm Rilo. I like to talk about things that I think are cool. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll catch you soon.
W video, man. W video, Rilo. That was fire. Definitely deserved the 2.2 million views. Definitely deserved that, man. Hey, man, shout out to my guy who told me to watch this, man. For real, I appreciate that you sent this to me because this is actually a really good and informative video, man. Appreciate y'all watching. Love y'all, boys. Thank you for all the comments, the likes, the subscribes, and the shares, and the dislikes, everything. You know what I mean? I appreciate you.